Welcome back to a Currently Basic podcast. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Megan.
On this week's episodes, we're continuing with the rock and roll theme. My last episodes, we did black metal murders, and now we're going to do punk murders.
I'm enjoying this theme of different genres of music. I think we should keep this up.
I'm definitely going to try to keep it up. I'm going to find one for every genre. It's great.
I'm ready. I'm here for it.
Let's do it. Okay. This week's is the mysterious death of Nancy Spungen and the overdose/potential murder of Sid Vicious. So Nancy Laura Spungen was born February 27th, 1958 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Nancy was described as a difficult baby, to say the least. And, you think babies are always difficult.
Mm-hmm.
She would scream all the time, past the point of normal baby screaming.
Oh no, that doesn't sound fun for her parents.
No, not at all. It keeps getting a little more not fun for her parents. Nancy was known for traumatizing her younger sister, but being very doting on her younger brother.
Traumatizing how?
She would just traumatize her, yell and try to hurt her and stuff. But yeah, and she was so doting and loving on her little brother.
Huh, that's really odd. So she was the oldest of three?
Yes.
Okay.
At age 15, Nancy was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, especially for someone so young.
And I think especially in the time period that this was, because this would have been in the late 60s?
Yes.
Right?
Well, wait, late 60s, very early 70s-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, by the time she was 15. From what I know of schizophrenia, it's really rare for someone in their early to mid-teens to experience it. Those symptoms usually show up in your early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So wow, that sounds really severe for her and very stressful for her parents.
Oh, it gets worse, unfortunately. The older she got, the more irrational she became. One time she threatened to kill her babysitter because she accused her of acting out for attention. She tried to stab her with scissors. And after all of this troubling behavior, they enrolled her in, excuse me if I mispronounce this wrong, Devereux Glenholm School in Connecticut, and also at Devereux Manor High School in Pennsylvania, which were behavioral schools. But Nancy would run away from there. While she ran away, she attempted to take her own life by cutting her wrist with scissors, and that was in January 1972.
Wow.
Nancy also, at 16, enrolled in University of Colorado Boulder, and she ended up getting expelled for, first, was buying pot from an undercover cop, and then second, from what I read, was stealing stuff from dorms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they had to make a deal with the government, so they didn't charge her in Colorado, where she was still a minor.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where she got banished from Colorado altogether.
From the state?
The state.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So Nancy went back home, but at age 17, she moved to New York City, where she ended up supporting herself by doing sex work. In New York is where she got involved in the punk scene and became a groupie for some pretty notorious bands. I can't 100% confirm for sure which bands it was, but people said different things.
Was she still treating her schizophrenia at this point?
Not that I could tell.
Okay.
Because she was doing some insane drugs.
Oh, that definitely sounds like it will help with everything she's already got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. But I can't 100% confirm that she was a groupie for the Sex Pistols.
Oh, okay.
She had went to London in the height of the punk craze there and met them. So I've heard some different stories on how she's met Sid. One was she had tried to get with John Lydon, who's also known as Johnny Rotten, who's the lead singer of the Sex Pistols.
Mm-hmm.
And, for those who don't know, the Sex Pistols are a very notorious punk band, and they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006. But Nancy had tried to get with John, but he was just like, no. And so her next option was Sid. It is also said that she was giving a blowjob to Steve, not Jobs, Steve Jones. Um,
Steve
Steve
Jobs.
Jones. I don't know why I said that. It's the same initials, and I'm like, I know it's not Steve Jobs. I have it right here, and I said
Steve Jones.
yes, yes, Steve Jones, who was a guitarist for the Sex Pistols, and that's how she met him. But the most known story is she tried to get with Johnny. He wouldn't have her. Got with Sid.
Okay.
Yeah. So, a little bit about Sid Vicious. He was born John Simon Ritchie, born May 10th, 1957. He was the bassist for the Sex Pistols. He joined after they replaced Glenn Malik. He didn't have a very stable life growing up. If this tells you anything about his home life, his mom started doing heroin just so she could get into housing projects for people that did drugs like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if that tells you anything about his childhood, it's reported that Sid actually lost his virginity to Nancy. And like I said before, Nancy was kind of his second choice. Also, a lot of people didn't like the effect Nancy had on Sid. From what everyone could tell, it wasn't a good effect.
So what kind of like not good effect was that?
Well, Sid already did drugs, but she got him into a lot higher drugs like heroin and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not like that. Also, Sid was at originally kind of known as a quiet, kind of goofy kid. I don't want to say Nancy brought out the vicious side of him, but the whole relationship was plagued with domestic abuse and violence and other things.
It sounds very toxic from both sides.
Oh, absolutely. These are two people who should not have been together whatsoever. Nancy was also not thought very highly of by the British media. They actually called her nauseating Nancy.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, later, after the Sex Pistols dismantled because of some issues, and I've heard some of it was Sid's erratic behavior. Sid took up a solo career but yeah, Nancy took over the manager role from Malcolm McLaren, which took them back to New York City again. They ended up getting a residency in the famous New York hotel, the Chelsea Hotel in Manhattan, where they checked in under Mr. and Mrs. John Simon Ritchie.
Okay.
Besides that, they were also doing copious amounts of drugs every day.
Love it.
So, on the night of October 11th, going into the morning of October 12th, 1978, after a night full of drugs, Nancy was stabbed in her stomach. Then she walked to the bathroom, which took her 3 hours to pass out and bleed to death.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, this happened in the hotel.
Yes. They were on a drug bender that night.
Okay.
Crazy drugs.
Yeah.
Sid didn't notice her until after he'd gone out, gotten food and stuff. That's where he noticed her on the bathroom floor, blood bleeding out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's as far as crime scene goes, it's not that graphic.
Yeah.
But it's still, yeah.
But I mean, so was he there when she got stabbed, or was he out, like you said, like getting food or something?
We're getting there. We're getting there. The knife that was used was a Jaguar K11 hunting knife, according to the police reports, not the 007 knife commonly cited. That morning when Sid woke up and saw the body, he had called the police. When police got there, they immediately arrested him for murder. When he got to the station, though, he gave many conflicting reports. The first was being he doesn't remember anything about that night. The second, that he stabbed her but didn't mean to kill her. And the third was that they had been fighting and Nancy had fell on the knife somehow.
Huh.
Yeah. But yeah, their friend Alan Jones, who was a friend of both Sid and Nancy's, said he doesn't believe in his heart of hearts Sid actually did kill Nancy. And something that was a little strange was publicly and in the media and interviews, he would be like, I didn't kill her, I didn't do it. But yet to friends and small circles of people, he would be like, I might have, I don't remember. Very conflicting reports on what happened.
Yeah, I mean, considering the fact that, you said that they were on a lot of drugs
Yeah.
at the time of her death, I wouldn't it doesn't surprise me
Yeah.
that, he doesn't have a very clear memory of what happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. And that some of their friends actually did criticize the police for this because it seems pretty open and shut.
Yeah.
Your boyfriend killed you after a night full of drugs. Yeah. 10 days after being arrested, he had tried to commit suicide by slitting his wrist with a broken light bulb.
Ah.
Yeah. He then tried jumping out of Bellevue Hospital's window by saying he wanted to be with Nancy.
Oh my
But
goodness.
nurses pulled him back in before he could jump. Also, this is such a strange interview that he had, and this was in November 1990 or 1978, sorry. Sid had said about Spongen's death was that her death was meant to happen, and that Nancy always said she would die before she was 21. Near the end of the interview, he had asked if he was having fun, and he asked the interview if he was kidding, and then then asked where he would like to be, and Sid said, under the ground.
Well, that's morbid.
Yeah. Well, shortly after Nancy's death, Sid started sleeping with an actress named Michelle Robinson, who legit looks like a brunette version of Nancy. Finding stuff about Michelle Robinson was kind of hard because I did want to look into her more. But I didn't realize our former first lady, Michelle Obama's name or maiden name was Michelle Robinson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so when I searched up Michelle Robinson in Google, saw Lady O.
Gotcha. Was she like an actress, a singer?
Uh, from what I heard, just an actress. There wasn't much details on her. She was an actress in the punk scene, and that's about all I could really find. But I did find from some of his friends' accounts was that Miss Michelle kind of had a thing for Sid before Sid even knew.
Hmm.
Some people even described her as kind of infatuated with him, but a
Hmm.
lot of people said she was an emotional crush or emotional crutch for Sid after Nancy had died.
Okay.
Well, while dating Michelle, he ended up assaulting Todd Smith, who was the brother of Patti Smith at a concert. He ended up getting arrested and spent 55 days in Rikers Island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he underwent mandatory detox, and after he got out, he was alleged he was mistreated really badly in Rikers. It's alleged, and this is from what Sid's friend said about his time there, that he was raped, beaten, and all kinds of other stuff. We don't know for sure if that was true or not, but we're going off of what Sid and his friend said.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that those are far-fetched accusations.
Yeah, especially from Rikers.
Hmm.
Well, on February 1st, 1979, Malcolm McLaren got him out on bail which was paid by Virgin Records, with the money that was being put up for bail being paid back with the next album that was supposed to be released. 24 hours later, on February 2nd, after a welcome home party held at Michelle's apartment, Sid overdosed twice on heroin that night, and the second time would be his fatal one. His mother was actually the one that bought him the second batch of heroin that killed him. The first was bought by Peter Kodak,
Wait, I'm sorry, did you say his mother?
his mother.
What a great family dynamic they have.
Yeah. Um, and why I say suspicious potential murder is it is alleged that night when he was going to die, Michelle would not give him a dose of heroin because that's what he wanted.
Hmm.
She went out, got his mother to get it, and this is all alleged. She went in there, and it's alleged that gave him a lethal dose to kill him, but as a mercy killing, so he didn't have to go back to Rikers or wherever he would end up being.
So did he take the drugs willingly?
He took the drugs willingly,
Okay.
but it is said the drugs that were in his system was enough to kill 2 people over.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, especially with a substance like heroin, you have to use more and more of it in order to
Yeah.
get the same high. I mean, that's the same with a lot of drugs, but
Yeah.
so I mean, maybe enough to kill 2 people who are not addicted to heroin was an amount that he was maybe kind of used to taking, or at least close to used to taking, and then just accidentally took too much. Considering that he was in Rikers for how long did you
Yeah.
say? Almost 2 months?
Yeah, about 55 days.
Okay. So, I mean, everyone knows that drugs are rampant in prison anyway, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that was the same back in the 80s, did you
But
say?
the 70s. But the thing
Okay.
is, he underwent mandatory detox.
Yeah, that doesn't really mean anything.
I mean, true. You're right.
I mean, I
But
guess,
from what,
depending on how um oh, I can't think of the word, how observed the inmates were,
yeah,
and how locked down they were at all times, it could have been possible that
yeah,
he wasn't using while he was in there, and then going back to using at an amount that he may have been used to taking previously, or an amount
yeah,
that he was close to used to taking previously, would be enough to
yeah,
kill him, to cause an
yeah.
overdose.
But the thing is, I forgot to mention the drugs were cut that they were too pure.
Okay.
That's why that's why they said, oh, it should not have had that much. So that's
Okay.
why some people believe that his mom, Mercy, killed him.
Interesting.
Yes. But for sure, we do know it was an overdose on heroin.
Mm-hmm.
Something I thought was sad is one of his friends, and this is stated in the book, Please Kill Me, The Uncensored Oral History of Punk by Legs McNeil and Gillian McCain. One of Sid's close friends, photographers, Ellen Polk, had said that no funeral home in New York was willing to have a funeral or bury Vicious due to his reputation. They actually ended up having to cremate him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. At one point before his cremation, Sid's mom had asked he wanted to be buried with Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
But Nancy was a Jewish woman, and they buried her in a Jewish cemetery. So it was basically impossible to get him buried there because he wasn't Jewish.
Right.
And then Sid's mom had asked Nancy's family if they could put his ashes on top of her grave, which they denied, but they would later go and do it anyways.
Okay.
So to this day, no one knows if Nancy was actually killed by Sid or if it was someone else, because the investigation looked pretty open and shut. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how police treated it, was open and shut.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the most plausible,
Yeah.
solution. If he
Yeah.
was the only one there, then drugs make you do crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But yeah, that is a very unfortunate, sad, and probably, I don't know if this one is solved, unsolved, or we know the answer. It's just the truth's too convoluted to actually know the truth.
mhm.
But that is the murder of Nancy Spungen and the suicide of, well, overdose of Sid Vicious. Thank you all for listening to a Criminally Basic podcast. If you want to find more, find us at a Criminally Basic podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
And to check out our sources as well as photos, go to our website, www.acriminallybasicpodcast.podbean.com.